Thank you. Mr. Brown, one definition of that would be added for accredited investors, those who have retained, use the services of various advisors. As you understand the legislation, would that mean that an investor could just retain the advice of an advisor who's affiliated with, selected by, or compensated by the issuer?
I don't think there's anything in the legislation that prevents that. It defines categories, and all you have to be is in one of those categories of people in order to be considered someone who can provide the services that transform you into an accredited investor.
So if I had a product I wanted to get investors in, and let's say I had a perverse interest in selling to those who couldn't even afford the risk, I could just have a CPA lawyer on staff and say, you can advise each investor, and I'll pay you to do it. And or you'll earn a commission with regard to the investment. I don't see any of the other witnesses anxious to contradict that, so I hope we would correct that in the legislation and say that if you're going to be an accredited investor because you've got a good advisor, that advisor better not be affiliated with, selected by, or compensated by the issuer, nor should his or her compensation depend upon whether the investor chooses to make the investment. We have when I was in the business world, which was a long time ago, we established this $1 million rule. $1 million now isn't even a good house in many parts of my district. And this $200,000 income used to be those who were really rolling in money. I would point out that even members of Congress would be making $200,000 if we hadn't legislated to prevent ourselves from getting cost of living increases. And I would hope that we would take a look at this if we're going to liberalize the rule by saying, well, if you're getting good advice, you don't have to be a millionaire. We would realize that in today's world, a millionaire is somebody that's got at least a couple $1 million. To say that somebody's a millionaire because they have a net worth of $1 million ignores the inflation over the last 20 or 30 years. As to leverage for BDCs, what we have in our economy now is all the money is locked in banks and other very risk-adverse investors. If you want to get a prime loan or a prime plus one loan, you can get 10 banks to bid on it, and you get all the money, and they beg you to take more, and you say no. If the German government wants to borrow money, you have to pay them to take it. So those that are, the money's locked up, and if we can get some of that money lent to BDCs and then through BDCs extended to the companies that really need it and that are growing and or might grow and that have some risk, that's moving the money from this little sheltered world where it only gets lent to sovereign governments and et cetera, and gets out, which is why I'm a bit reluctant to see, I think Mr. Brown commented on this, to see the BDC money then go to financial institutions. It's the financial institutions that already have enough money. Does anyone here, I'll address this to Mr. Foster, but anybody, have any economic analysis that said, not it's good for your investors, and you do have to be here just for your investors, but that it's good for the economy to create another pipeline so that investment money goes to those in the financial sector?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, we have investments, and that's what Mr. Arrighetti has one too. And probably Mike as well, we have investments in leasing companies that, that might have to occupy a small role in our 30% bucket. And would it be nice to not have to worry about that if another leasing company came in? Because the leasing companies, equipment leasing companies, they're helping operating businesses, right? So just because it goes
In a lot of ways, they are your business.
Yeah,
They're financing the same people you're financing.
Yeah, so, but, I think our members think that the 30% bucket is adequate to deal with those. We welcome it. It would be nice if it was bigger, but I just don't see it as a priority to.
Should all financial...
Gentleman's time.
My time has expired.